Could an elephant use a smartphone? The giant's surprising dexterity.
We all know elephants for their size and their impressive trunks, but could you ever imagine one using a smartphone? While it might sound like a scene from a cartoon, elephants actually have amazing dexterity in their trunks, using them to do delicate tasks like picking or even painting with a brush. But here's the most surprising part. An elephant's trunk is so skilled, it could potentially swipe on a smartphone. This fun fact is a reminder not to underestimate the animal kingdom's incredible abilities. Elephants have roughly 150,000 muscle units in their trunks, which gives them such fine motor skills that scientists believe they could navigate a touch screen with a bit of practice. Though we're not giving smartphones to elephants just yet, this insight shows just how complex and skilled these gentle giants are. It's a testament to the hidden talents all animals possess, some of which might just rival our own.
The icy hot surprise. Can ice really set ablaze?
Ever heard of ice that burns? It sounds like a riddle, but it's actually a real thing. This strange and fiery ice isn't like the cubes in your freezer. It's called flammable ice, scientifically known as methane hydrate. This odd substance looks like regular ice, but is actually methane gas trapped in lattice structures of water ice. The cool part, when you light it up, it catches fire while still super cold to the touch. Methane hydrate is found deep under the seafloor and in the Arctic permafrost. Even more interesting is that it holds a massive amount of potential energy. Scientists believe that if we can safely tap into this icy fuel without harming the environment, it could be a game changer for energy resources. So next time you see ice, just think. Somewhere out there, there's a type that's hiding a fiery secret.
Could you outrun a snail? The speedy truth about human pace.
You might think it's easy to outrun a snail, but did you know that in the world of snails, some are speedier than others? The common garden snail travels at a leisurely pace of about 1 meter per hour. Now let's compare that to humans. The average person walks at about 5 kilometers per hour. That means it would take a snail almost 5 days to cover the distance a human can walk in an hour. But that's not the whole story. The fastest human ever recorded, Usain Bolt, can sprint at a speed of approximately 37.58 kilometers per hour. So, if Bolt was in a race with a garden snail, he could cover the snail's hour-long journey in just under 10 seconds. Imagine that, a human running so fast that a tiny snail's hour of effort becomes a matter of seconds. So next time you're out for a walk and you see a snail, remember, in the race of life, you're more like a lightning bolt than you think.
Is white rain a real thing? Discover the colorless rainbow.
Rain is usually just wet and not very colorful. But what if I told you there's such a thing as a white rainbow? It's not a fairy tale. It's science. White rainbows, also known as fog bows, are rare, and you can see them in foggy conditions. They happen when the tiny water droplets in the fog are too small to break sunlight into colors. So instead of seeing a colorful arc in the sky, you're treated to a ghostly white circle. This beautiful phenomenon is most common in places with cold sea mists like Antarctica, but you might be lucky to spot one if you're out on a foggy day. It may not have vibrant colors, but the white rainbow's eerie charm is sure to leave you in awe. Next time the fog rolls in, don't just stay inside. Take a peek at the sky. You might just witness this rare spectacle and have an incredible story to tell.
Did horses ever roam rainbow colors? The palette of the past.
Picture a horse in your mind. You're likely thinking of a majestic creature with a coat of brown, black, white, or maybe a mix. But what if I told you, once upon a time, some horses could have been as colorful as a rainbow? Well, not exactly, but something close. Millions of years ago, during the Eocene epoch, there lived a horse called Hyracotherium. They were tiny, just about the size of a small dog, and scientists believe they might have had coats with spots or stripes. These patterns would help them hide from predators, kind of like how zebras use their stripes today. So, while they weren't rainbow-colored, these tiny ancestors of modern horses had a unique fashion sense that might have been as cool as a natural rainbow. Could you imagine riding a zebra-striped horse? In today's world, we can only dress up our horses to make them as vibrant as our imaginations. But back then, nature did the styling. No dyes needed.
Is honey really an eternal delight?
Did you know that honey never spoils? Archaeologists have found pots of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs that are over 3,000 years old and still perfectly good to eat. Honey's magical chemistry is the secret behind its eternal shelf life. It's naturally acidic and low in moisture, making it an unfriendly place for bacteria and microorganisms. Plus, bees add an enzyme that makes hydrogen peroxide as part of the honey-making process. This combination assures that honey remains the sweet treat that just doesn't expire. So the next time you drizzle honey on your toast, think about how it's a link to the sweet side of history.
Can snakes dance to a tune? Uncover the myth!
So, you've probably seen those snake charmers in movies or cartoons, right? The ones where a snake pops out of a basket and starts bobbing its head as if it's grooving to some catchy tune. But hold on, did you know that snakes can't even hear the music? That's right, they're deaf to the tunes snake charmers play. Snakes sense vibrations through the ground, not the air like we do when we hear sound. This means they actually feel their way through the world. The dance that they perform is not them keeping a beat to the charmer's flute, but them following the movements and vibrations of the flute as a potential threat or predator. Snake charmers expertly sway their instruments, and the snakes follow the movement. It's all about survival instincts, not a dance-off. Turns out the true charmer here is not the music, but the motion.
Can bees recognize human faces?
It's a surprising fact that the tiny brain of a bee, about the size of a sesame seed, can do something really cool. Recognize human faces. Scientists found that bees can learn to see faces as a collection of shapes, kind of like how we see a jigsaw puzzle. They trained bees by showing them photos of different faces. The bees would get a sweet treat when they saw a certain face. Soon, they could pick out that face from a group of pictures, expecting their tasty reward. This incredible ability is due to their need to remember which flowers they've visited. Just like they learn the shapes of different flowers, they learned the shapes of faces. So next time a bee buzzes around your head, it might not just be looking for nectar, but could also be saying hello to a familiar face.
Why don't you ever see a kangaroo in a boxing ring?
Have you ever seen a kangaroo stand up on its tail? It might seem like a funny trick, but it's actually a kangaroo's way of flexing its muscles. Kangaroos are famous in Australia for their powerful legs, but their tails are super strong too. They use them for balance, to stand upright, and even to fight. A kangaroo's tail is so strong it can support its entire body weight. But that's not all. When kangaroos fight, they don't just use their tails, they actually box with their front paws. It's not exactly like human boxing, though. Kangaroos box to protect themselves or to show who's the strongest. But unlike in the cartoons, you won't find them wearing gloves and stepping into a ring. These amazing creatures prefer to keep their boxing natural and in the wild. So, the next time you watch kangaroos, remember that their tails aren't just for hopping around. They're an essential part of what makes kangaroos the unique boxing champions of the animal kingdom.
Can animals predict the weather?
Did you know that some animals might be able to predict the weather? It's true. Before technology and weather forecasts, people would look at animals to guess the weather. It's like animals have their own weather station in their bodies. For example, cows often lie down when it's going to rain. Nobody knows for sure why, but maybe they want to keep a dry spot to lie on. Also, birds sometimes fly lower when a storm is coming. They do this because the air pressure changes, and it's harder for them to fly at high places when a storm is near. And frogs? They croak more when bad weather is on the way. So if you see cows chilling on the ground, birds having a low-fly party, and frogs singing like there's no tomorrow, you might want to grab an umbrella. Nature is super cool, and animals are like little weather prophets. Follow me for more fun facts.